Hi, I'm Annabelle Sims, and this is my Girl Scout Gold Award project, creating informed and active voters. This video is on the system of voting. One of the most parts of the election process is campaigning. It generally starts 1.5 to 2 years before an election takes place. Campaigning is what a candidate for an election does to make themselves and their platform well known by voters. Campaigning allows candidates and parties to give their message to the voters. This enables voters to have the information to make a well-informed vote. Competition between candidates is important in any democratic election, as it allows a wide variety of people to have their voices heard and potentially have a candidate that represents the voters' views. In national elections, candidates campaign until there's a party nomination for president, and then usually only the candidate that wins the nomination continues campaigning until the election. The process for selecting the party nomination happens at the National Convention for each party, the Democratic National Convention and the Republican National Convention. At each convention, a group of delegates collectively decides their nomination for president for their party. The selection of those delegates happens at a state level through either primaries or caucuses. Caucuses are when potential delegates gather, declare if they identify with a candidate or are uncommitted. Then after a discussion or debate, a vote is taken. This determines which delegates get to go to the convention and vote for the nominee for the states that use the caucus system. Primaries are a bit more active for the voters. During a primary, voters select either the name of a candidate or the name of a delegate through a secret ballot, much like the general election. There are 3 types of primaries: closed, open, and blanket, that states would choose to use. Closed primaries are when voters can only vote for a candidate that belongs to the party the voter is registered for. Open primaries are when voters can vote for a candidate belonging to any party, even if they are not registered for that party. Voters in open primaries are only permitted to vote in one party's primary. Blanket primaries are the least popular type of primary. In a blanket primary, voters can vote in all of the state's primary elections, regardless of party. Some states use a combination of different types of primaries and caucuses. For example, Massachusetts uses a hybrid primary system, also called a semi-closed primary system. In Massachusetts, voters registered with a certain party may only vote for a candidate that belongs to that party. However, unaffiliated voters may choose which party they would like to vote for a candidate in. Once a primary or caucus occurs, states then award delegates to go to the National Convention and vote for their primary's presidential nominee. The Democratic Party awards their delegates in a proportion to the percentage of votes each candidate received in a caucus or primary. The Republican Party allows states to choose whether they are going to use the proportional model for awarding delegates or if they are going to use the winner-take-all model, where the candidate that got the majority of votes in a caucus or primary gets all of the delegates for that state. Once each party nominates a presidential candidate, next is the election. The popular vote shows the total amount of votes American citizens gave to each candidate. However, this is not what determines who becomes the president. The electoral vote is what determines the outcome of an election. The electoral vote is determined by the Electoral College. The Electoral College consists of 538 electors. The number of electors is equivalent to the number of senators, 100, the number of representatives, 435, and the 3 electors the District of Columbia is given in presidential elections due to the 23rd Amendment. In order for a candidate to win the election, they must receive 270 electoral votes. When voters choose a candidate in the election, they are actually voting for an elector. Then those electors that win the vote go on to vote for president. Most states have a winner-take-all system where the candidate with the most votes gets all of the electors, which gives that candidate more votes when electors go to vote. Oftentimes, states tend to fall into patterns and consistently end up voting for one party most of the time. However, there are some states where neither candidate has an obvious advantage. These are called swing states. Swing states change each election depending on the candidates and the issues prevalent at the time. Usually, the margin by which one candidate wins over another is fairly small in swing states, but each of those states make up a significant portion of electoral votes. Because of this, candidates often focus the majority of their campaigning time on these states. Oftentimes, a few swing states can pretty much determine the outcome of an election.